The inheritance cycle. Eragon. The spine loomed before Eragon, a treacherous mountain range shrouded in mist and mystery. The young hunter's breath plumed in the crisp mountain air as he carefully made his way through the dense underbrush. His bow was at the ready, keen eyes scanning for any sign of movement. The fate of his family's winter stores rested on this hunt. Suddenly, a deafening explosion shattered the forest silence. Eragon instinctively ducked, heart pounding, as he searched for the source of the disturbance. A clearing had appeared where none had been before. The trees blasted outward in a perfect circle, and at its center, gleaming in the dappled sunlight, lay a polished blue stone. Curiosity overcame caution as Eragon approached. The stone was smooth and cool to the touch. Its deep blue surface swirled with white veins. It was lighter than it looked, and as he lifted it, Eragon felt a strange tingling sensation course through his arms. Little did he know that this mysterious object would change his life forever. The trek back to Carvajal, his small village nestled in the Palancar Valley, was arduous. The stone weighed heavily in his pack, both physically and mentally. Questions raced through Eragon's mind. What was it? Where had it come from? And most importantly, what was he going to do with it? As he crested the final hill overlooking Carvajal, Eragon paused to catch his breath. The sight of the village, smoke curling from chimneys, and the distant sound of laughter carried on. The wind filled him with a sense of home. But there was also a nagging feeling that things were about to change. Uncle Garrow and cousin Roran greeted Eragon with a mixture of relief and concern. The empty game bag didn't go unnoticed, but the strange blue stone quickly became the focus of their attention. "What in the blazes is that?" Garrow asked, his weathered face creased with worry. Eragon recounted his experience in the spine, watching as his uncle's frown deepened. Roran, always the practical one, suggested trying to sell the stone to passing traders. It might not put food on the table, but it could help them through the lean winter months. That night, as Eragon lay in his bed, the stone sitting on a shelf nearby, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. In the flickering candlelight, he could have sworn he saw the stone move, just slightly, as if something inside was stirring. Days passed, and the stone remained a mystery. Traders came and went, but none showed interest in the unusual object. Eragon found himself spending more and more time studying it, tracing its smooth surface with his fingers, trying to decipher its secrets. It was on a cold, moonless night that everything changed. Eragon awoke to a persistent squeaking sound. Groggy and confused, he lit a candle and turned toward the shelf where the stone sat. Except it wasn't sitting anymore. It was rocking back and forth, hairline cracks spreading across its surface. With a final, resounding crack, the stone split open. But it wasn't a stone at all. It was an egg. And from it emerged a creature straight out of legend, a dragon. The baby dragon was no larger than a small cat, its scales the same deep blue as the egg had been. Steam rose from its damp body as it shakily got to its feet, unfurling leathery wings. Its eyes, brilliant sapphires, locked onto Eragon's with an intelligence that took his breath away. Without thinking, Eragon reached out to touch the dragon. The moment his hand made contact with its scales, A searing pain shot up his arm. He cried out, falling backward onto his bed. When the pain subsided, he looked at his palm to find a shimmering silver oval, a Jedwi Ignatia. Though he didn't know it yet, in that moment, a bond was formed that would reshape the fate of Alagasia. Eragon, the simple farm boy from Carvajal, had become a dragon rider. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of secrecy and wonder. Eragon hid the dragon in the forest, visiting as often as he could to bring food and watch in amazement. As it grew at an astonishing rate, he named her Saphira, after a dragon mentioned in an old story told by the village storyteller Brom. But their idyllic time together was short-lived. Dark forces were stirring in Alagasia, and the emergence of a new dragon rider had not gone unnoticed. The Razak, fearsome servants of the evil King Galbatorix, came to Carvajal in search of the egg. Eragon returned home one evening to find his farm in flames. Uncle Garrow mortally wounded. The Razak had come and gone, leaving destruction in their wake. As Garrow breathed his last, Eragon made a vow of vengeance that would set him on a path he could never have imagined. With Saphira now large enough to ride, Eragon fled Carvajal, the only home he had ever known. But he wasn't alone. Brom, the storyteller, revealed himself to be far more than he appeared. A former dragon rider himself, Brom took Eragon under his wing. Beginning his training in magic, swordsmanship, and the ancient language of the elves, their journey across Alagasia was fraught with danger and discovery. Eragon's powers grew, as did his bond with Saphira. They faced bandits, Urgals, and the constant threat of discovery by the Empire's forces. Through it all, Eragon's desire for vengeance against the Razak burned bright. In the port city of Term, Eragon and Brom sought information about the Razak's whereabouts. It was here that Eragon met Angela, a herbalist and fortune teller whose cryptic prophecy would haunt him for years to come. It was also in Term that Eragon first glimpsed the true scope of the conflict he had stumbled into. The Varden, a rebel group opposing Galbatorix's tyrannical rule, was gaining strength, and rumors of their exploits filled the city's taverns. As they closed in on the Razak's lair, Eragon and Brom were ambushed. In the ensuing battle, Brom was mortally wounded protecting Eragon. With his dying breath, Brom revealed his true identity as a dragon rider, and passed on his sword, Zarok, to Eragon. The loss of his mentor hit Eragon hard, leaving him feeling more alone than ever in a world growing increasingly complex and dangerous. But fate had more in store for the young rider. A mysterious stranger named Murtak came to their aid, helping Eragon escape the clutches of the Razak. Together, they continued the journey, forming an uneasy alliance born of necessity. Their path led them to Gil-id, where they hoped to find information about the Varden's whereabouts. Instead, they stumbled upon something unexpected: an elf prisoner named Arya. Eragon had seen her in his dreams, though he didn't understand the connection. In a daring rescue mission, they freed Arya, but not before Eragon faced off against a Shade, a fearsome magical creature in service to Galbatorix. The encounter left Eragon shaken but more determined than ever. With Arya gravely wounded and in need of the Varden's healing magic, their journey took on a new urgency. They raced across the Hadark Desert, pushing themselves and their horses to the limit. It was during this desperate flight that Eragon's powers truly began to manifest. Under Saphira's guidance, he delved deeper into the mysteries of magic, learning to draw energy from his surroundings to fuel increasingly powerful spells. The ancient language of magic began to feel as natural to him as breathing. As they neared the Varden's hidden stronghold in the Beer Mountains, they found themselves pursued by a massive Urgal army. In a heart-stopping aerial battle, Eragon and Saphira faced off against the Urgals, buying time for their companions to reach safety. The Varden's underground city of Trondheim was a wonder, unlike anything Eragon had ever seen. Massive stone halls carved into the heart of the mountain, filled with dwarves, humans, and the occasional elf. But there was little time for awe. The Urgal army was at their doorstep, and the Varden looked to Eragon, the first free dragon rider in a generation, to turn the tide. The Battle of Farthendur was chaos incarnate. Eragon and Saphira fought with everything they had, their bond, allowing them to move as one. Magic and steel clashed as the fate of the Varden hung in the balance. But the true test came when Eragon once again faced the Shade, Durza, in single combat. The battle pushed Eragon to his absolute limits. Durza's dark magic was unlike anything he had faced before. Just when all seemed lost, Eragon remembered Brahm's teachings and the true power of a dragon rider. With Saphira's strength flowing through him, Eragon struck down Durza, becoming the first rider in history to slay a Shade. Victory came at a cost. Eragon was left with a crippling wound across his back, a parting gift from Durza that no magic seemed able to heal fully. As he recovered in the aftermath of the battle, Eragon was left to grapple with his new role in the world. He was no longer just Eragon, the farm boy from Carvajal. He was Eragon Shadeslayer, dragon rider, and hero of the Varden. The weight of expectation sat heavy on his young shoulders. The war against Galbatorix was far from over, and Eragon knew that his journey was only beginning. As he stood on a balcony overlooking Trondheim, Saphira by his side, Eragon's thoughts turned to the future. There was so much still to learn, so many battles yet to be fought. But for the first time since leaving Carvajal, he felt a sense of purpose. "We have a long road ahead of us, Saphira," he said, reaching out to stroke her scales. Saphira's mind touched his, her thoughts, tinged with determination and affection. "And we will walk it together, little one, until the end." Eragon smiled, drawing strength from their bond. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dark forces Galbatorix might throw at them, they would face it as one.